I've had one employer refuse to hire me because I didn't have a Facebook at the time. Wasn't a HR or social job, it was a fast food joint. People who lost their job because of a post to a social media platform, what happened? I had to fire someone for one. He was a volunteer firefighter and left for a call which I allowed. 15 minutes later someone showed me his 5-minute-old post of him riding quads saying something along the lines of "sometimes you just need to F off from work." That put him on a final warning. He then left because he said his house was on fire. Then half an hour later his wife tagged him in a photo of him sitting in a kiddie pool in front of his house. The funny thing is, in both cases, if he had simply asked to leave early I probably would have said yes. To clarify, this was over different days a few weeks apart and he worked for me but also volunteered as a firefighter. The fire chief also found out about this and dismissed him from that position as well. This guy had a few issues, needless to say, and honesty was not something with which he was familiar. I work in a hospital and there was a police shooting in my area a couple of years ago and multiple officers were brought into our ER. One officer was DOA and a number of idiot hospital employees posted condolences on their Facebook pages with the name of the officer before the family was officially informed. If memory serves, 7 or 8 employees were rightfully fired for that one. I once didn't get a job since I don't have Facebook or other social media accounts. Apparently they wanted to see the kind of person I was, and I told them I like my privacy. A former colleague of mine posted about how he was going to use up all his sick leave then quit. He posted it at 9 a.m., he was told he had no more job at 11. I had to fire an employee for a tweet he wrote about a customer. He tweeted, "Customer's full name, would be a great name for a gay porn star." I found out about it when the customer's lawyer called me the next day threatening action. Turns out the guy worked for the local newspaper and obsessively searched his name on all social media. I didn't lose my job over a Facebook post, but I recently got someone fired because of one I made. I got a call from my parents last weekend that our older dog had been hit and killed by the newspaper delivery driver for their neighborhood. This younger girl was constantly speeding, 45 plus on a short, residential road, and seen on her phone while driving. Complaints had been made before but apparently no action was taken. The dog was 13 years old and could barely manage to hobble, so it was clearly a case of the driver going too fast and not paying attention. She even had the audacity to cuss at my dad while he was trying to get the dog off the street. The newspaper company wasn't returning calls to my parents regarding the driver's safety and behavior, so I decided to give them a push in the right direction and made a shaming post on their Facebook page. It got attention and went as viral as a local newspaper's page can get, and they finally got in contact and terminated the driver's contract. Not me, but the company I work for. A prospective employee just passed his interview, and was told that all he needs to do is pass a drug test and a physical and he would start on Monday. The company Facebook guy found the new hire on Facebook and the guy had just posted 20 minutes after the interview, "Crap. Anyone know how to pass a drug test in 24 hours?" I was younger and an idiot. I posted something on Facebook about wanting to go home and play The Sims so I could create telecommunications store I worked for on it and then slowly kill off all the customers. I was working a late night shift in a mall and forgot our new coworker had added me on Facebook days before. Joined a games studio alongside a guy who'd just finished his philosophy degree. He felt that the game's official forums were the best place to discuss whether disabled people would be of as much value as pigs after a post-apocalyptic event, and if they should be simply slaughtered and eaten. All using his company account, of course. I used to work for Geek Squad in college, and a coworker was fired when a famous actor came in and she posted on Facebook a lot of his private info. Like full name, came into our store and bought this and has a black Amex card and stuff he had on his computer. Not once but on 2 separate occasions. Not me, but a girl on my Facebook worked for the postal service in my town. She posted on Facebook how she wanted to slit her boss's throat and went into some gory details. Then, about 5 hours later, she posted another status about how the feds showed up at her house and that one of her coworkers had showed her boss the status and she was now fired. She's obviously really dumb and trashy. A company I worked for had it written into their 7-page contracts that you were not allowed to even reference said company on social media. Anyone in breach would be fired instantly. There's a page on Facebook called We Hate _ that's currently one of the world's biggest corporate hate pages. It all started when someone working in our call center posted online about how much the customers suck. Then began something of a war between the staff and customers posting on employees' walls and vice versa. The company is a major player in its market, essentially had a monopoly, and there was a noticeable drop in sales that year. All in all, around 20 people were fired. Worked at a famous video game store until 2010. The store was in a mall and parents would always leave their kids in the store and go do their shopping. Sometimes the children would cry, sometimes they'd pee themselves, even had one. Number 2. Parents would get mad at us for not bringing them to the bathroom, or start screaming at their kids for not just playing games for a few hours without causing any problems. I tweeted about how the store wasn't there to babysit children and never really thought about that tweet again. Until few months later, same thing. Parent drops kid off in store, leaves. 20 minutes later, an older looking guy is outside the store, on his flip phone, aiming it at the store. He's creeping me out, but I continue offering pointless warranties to customers while waiting for my next break, and then I noticed him walk near the entrance of the store and ask that kid where his parents are. This seemed really fishy and the guy looked beyond suspicious. I was thinking he could be a pedophile and I was right. He gets the kid to go with him. I call up mall security so they could check it out and they caught him before he left the mall. He was arrested. The kid was crying, asking for his mom, who mall security could not reach because, as it turns out, she went to some stores outside of the mall area and she didn't actually come back for another 2 hours, at which point she threatened to sue me, famous game store, the mall, etc. Security guard lady told her that child services were called. They all walked away. That was the last time I saw them. Few days later, district manager DM shows up in store and I was fired on the spot because that lady made a complaint. DM found my Twitter and informed me that my approach to yesterday's dilemma and my tweet about how famous game store isn't a babysitting service has made them believe that I don't have the game store spirit. Both the manager and district manager told me I could use them as a reference on my resume though, which was great until they both lost their jobs a few weeks later. Former Chipotle manager here. As many of you know, Chipotle gives away free stuff on Halloween. So it's a mandatory weekend for everyone to work. Well, one of our employees called off that Thursday saying he had swine flu. Right. Of course he posted pics of his weekend partying on his Facebook. Upon which he was friends with our kitchen manager, general manager, and district manager. Per company policy, and common sense, you can't return to work from serious contagious stuff without a doctor's note. So he shows back up on Wednesday acting all fine and saying the doc cleared him. Oh, but his mom threw his release note away. Too bad, buddy, we need that thing or you can't work. Since we didn't know when he would have it, we only gave him 1 day on the schedule anyway. So then his mommy calls me and asks why he can't work. I ask her, if she went to a restaurant and found out a cook hadn't proven he was cleared from having swine flu, would she eat there? She saw my point. But it's not his fault, she threw away the note. They were remodeling. I asked, why can't the doc write a new one? Well, he went on vacation, couldn't the receptionist or a PA get them something? She huffed and hung up on me. The next day he puts on Facebook, Dear Chipotle and managers, instead of cutting hours on someone, why not grow balls to fire them outright? Suck my male genital. Pretty easy to let him go after that. Didn't lose my job, but I watched a friend lose his over a tweet. He tweeted, so getting head while delivering pizzas is pretty sweet, one night while he was working. The next morning he tweeted, Yo F you Papa John's, I don't need you or your stupid job anyway, or something to that effect. I've never laughed so hard in my life. Guy at my company got sacked for putting a Facebook status along the lines of, effing immigrants, I hate them, not realizing both his bosses, also owners of the company, were second-generation immigrants from India. They started the company from scratch and now employ 30 people. They pay for full gym membership, healthcare, and generous pension for all the staff, which he had to say goodbye to when he was fired. How's that for your effing immigrants? I was once passed over for a job because I barely use Facebook. They straight up told me that they couldn't trust me because of how little info was on my page. For future reference, I'm sorry employers that 90% of my Facebook page is related to StarCraft or miscellaneous gaming. I'm sorry that I don't get drunk and post embarrassing photos of things you could fire me over. My personal life is my business and not Facebook's. So here's a funny and quiet immature story. I'll keep it short and sweet. I worked for a place that has a gift shop. Inside of this gift shop were the most ugly, unwearable scarves on the face of the planet. I was younger and didn't really care about the company or any possible consequences. I started a movement called Scarf Tuesday. Basically, a few of us, on the clock, would meet up at 9 every Tuesday and wear a scarf for a photo on Facebook. These photos started getting likes, and people loved them, so we kept going. A few months later, I get pulled into my boss's office. On the wall are at least 20 of the Scarf Tuesday pictures with the faces blurred out. My boss asks me, to this day, the funniest question I've ever been asked. "What do you see here?" I smiled and told him it looked like employees wearing scarves. He said he found it hilarious but it was unacceptable and he was disappointed. Apparently somebody watching the cameras wasn't happy and watched us for weeks piling evidence. Everybody, 15 people at least, had similar meetings in the next few days. I didn't get canned right away because we stopped doing Scarf Tuesday, but the retaliation was awful and eventually I was blamed for just about everything that went wrong and got fired. Looking back at it, it was foolish. I fell into a deep depression for a few months because of being unemployed. It helped me grow into a man though, and now I have a full-time managerial job making twice as much. I'll never regret it because it brought me on a path that led to a better life. I posted a blog post on MySpace in 2005 that got me discharged from the army. I indicated I had romantic feelings for a female and that I had acted on those feelings. I am also female. My sergeant suspected I was involved with this woman, so she looked me up on MySpace, saw the blog post, and 3 months later, I was discharged for homosexual conduct. My female friend, 18, was DM'd through Twitter by the news presenter, 37, of our city. He was talking about her beach pictures and how she is really pretty and how they need to get together. She ended up telling him that it's pretty ridiculous that he's trying to get with her. He lost his job later that week. The only real reason he lost his job was because he used the Weather Channel's Twitter account. I got fired from an internship for posting on Reddit before. It was a very small environmental engineering consulting firm. We were doing work on a site that had lead and arsenic contamination on it. The site was very dusty, and if it didn't rain for a few days the dust would often kick up and blow onto the street next to the site, which happened to be the main road in this semi-smallish town. Someone mentioned on Reddit, in a totally unrelated way, that they were from this town. I made a mention of the contamination, and told the dude that if he ever saw dust coming off the site that he should contact the engineers which were housed above one of the local bars. Apparently this guy didn't really want the site to be redeveloped at all because of the already high congestion in the surrounding roads, and he called and complained and mentioned my post on Reddit. The company was so small it was obvious it was me who posted it, and I fessed up about what I had said, and immediately deleted the post. Even though I didn't do anything illegal, or even remotely immoral, I was fired because I was seen as a liability. People deserve to know if the dust they're breathing in could give them cancer. I moved on to a different field, marine biology, and haven't even remotely looked back. Thanks for listening to Radio TTS. Hit the subscribe button and activate the bell notification. I hope this video made clear why I cut off the Reddit usernames from these stories. People can really get in trouble for something they've posted on social media, as you heard in the last story. Make sure you stay undercover when you are online.